I'm John Seaman at Road America at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. We're covering the 10th annual Vintage Fall Festival of sports car racing here at the track. The event is sponsored by the Vintage Sports Car Driver Association in conjunction with the Sports Car Club of America. Racing here today will be a group of cars all the way from early vintage racers such as MGs and Triumphs, all the way up through production cars that were racing at tracks throughout the world in the 70s. Some of the featured events today is a pre-war Group 1 race for the early vintage cars, a special USRRC race, and round 11 Monoposto Register Championship Race Series for open.
Really?
I'm with Don Martin, and he has an MG here that has some famous racing history, and I'd like Don to tell us about the car.
This is the Johnny Von Neumann Special that won the first Pebble Beach Road Race in 1950, the first Palm Springs Road Race in 1951. That went on to win the Sandberg Hill Climb at Torrey Pines, at the old Gilmore Speedway. It won 7 of the first 14 races it was in. The body was built by Emil Diet, who built the 51 through 54 winning IndyCar bodies, a very famous bodybuilder. And the car was extremely competitive, still winning races. It won Torrey Pines in 1957 in the ladies' race with Josie Von Neumann driving it. And this is its first time back here at Elkhart Lake, and it's just been a wonderful experience.
The car has had to have some work done, I assume. Could you tell us a little bit of the history, the restoration?
Yes, the car, Johnny sold it in 1952 to Tracy Bird and Bunky Bell. Then he bought it back in 54, and he used it as a runaround car in Switzerland, in his home in Switzerland. And they even put tuck and roll upholstery on the inside of it and put the rivets right through the side of the body. And so that had to be all taken down, and it was a street car, so it had to be taken back to its race preparation. And I've done all of that work. I build my own engines, so and it's all standard, parts that are kinds of things that they could have used then. It's no new specialty kinds of things at all, and it's a very quick car. It would run my times yesterday. In the next 2 groups up would have put me in the top 10 with them.
Big story about the car this weekend that he had to do some scrambling to get it ready to race today.
Yes, on Friday, in practice, it broke the right front strut, which is this piece right here, they're not available. They're pretty rare kind of pieces. You don't break them very often. I've never broken one in 16 years, but it broke here. So I had to call California to get a friend of mine to go through his shelves and find an old piece and ship it out, special next day express, and then put it on the car so that the car could qualify yesterday.
In SCCA events in Texas, cars that featured several books on Alfa Romeo.
Joe Weinberger also is a champion today. He took the checkered flag in the Group 8 race in his Lotus 26R, I believe it is.
That's correct.
So, Joel, would you tell us a little about the car and how you got into vintage racing along with your dad?
Sure. Well, I guess my dad's the main reason I'm in vintage racing. When I was a kid, I grew up here at Elkhart Lake, and I was here for every race, June Sprints, Trans Am, Can-Am, you name it. He was a regional executive back then for SCCA, and so I always wanted to race. And vintage gives us an opportunity to get out here and not be totally serious. I mean, we're serious, but I mean, not have a structured schedule. We can race as many or as little as we want. And so I kind of got him back into it. I said, Dad, let's do this. And he kind of liked the idea. So, now we're up to, 3, 4, 5 cars. And we've been having a good time. It's, good quality time for father and son. And the car itself is kind of a special car because it's one of 95 factory lightweight cars that Lotus built. It's not just a regular lawn. They actually built some lightweight, thinner fiberglass, aluminum magnesium part cars, and this is one of the 95 cars. And it was raced up here back in the mid-'60s in C production, and we know the original race history in the car, so it's kind of neat. And it belonged to an old friend of my father's, so we hounded him for years and years because I really wanted the car, and finally he gave it up, and we put it back together, and from basically nut and bolt, and we've had it now for 3 years, and finally the car is right, and it's running just really well.
Now, what type of an engine does this have in it?
Actually has pretty much the same engine as the 23 that my father drives. It's a Lotus twin cam, 1600 cc, and pushes horsepower in the 180 190 range. So for a 1300 pound car, it gets up and goes pretty well, and usually can keep up with a lot of the big Corvettes and stuff here. It is not necessarily easy because not as easy as the 23, I'd say, because it is even though it was a factory lightweight racer, it is a production car at heart. It has kind of a narrow track, so it tends to be kind of darty. But once you get used to it, and the other thing is this is an English car, so it's right-hand drive. So once you get the adjustment of shifting with the left hand and being on the right side of the car, it takes a while, but then you get it down. And I'm very comfortable in the car. I'm starting to race this Formula Ford now, and that is, in general, is an easier car to drive, but I'm not able to drive it as well as what I'm driving here.
appears to be a little bit different than most standard MGs. This MG is racing in a higher class. Why is that?
Well, it's powered by a Chevrolet engine, a 1969 302 Chevy engine. This car was first conceived by me back in 1956. It had a little bit bigger engine back then, but the car got away from me. I sold it. Uncle Sam took over about 2 years of my life, and recently I was able to find it, buy it back, and redo the car the way I should have been able to the first time around.
What happened to the car after you got rid of it? Was it raced?
I don't know that for sure. The car was terribly mutilated by the time I found it. The engine that I had in it, I took out before I sold the chassis, and that went into a streamliner that ran at the Daytona Beach, and then eventually it went into a sprint car that ran up around central Wisconsin and Minnesota. When it came back to me, it had an inline 6-cylinder Ford engine in it. Now, to a car nut, they would understand how hokey that is, but I put it back to as close as I could to the original, and it's a little bit better than it was before, because with my knowledge now, I would never climb into that old race car that I built in '56.
When you had the car with the V8 engine in it in 1956, did you race it then, or what was it built for?
All right, it was built for racing. I put more than just the Chevy engine into it. I had Mercury brakes all the way around it. It had a Hallobrand quick change rear end in it. I wanted to go road racing at that time because road racing was in its infancy, but because of Uncle Sam drafting me, I was only able to drag race it a couple times. And back then it turned 112 in 12 and a half seconds, which was pretty good. Okay.
At Road America, this being a long road course, how does the car perform compared with some of the other machines you're racing against?
Well, you know, the car is just a handful. I don't want to break my arm, pat myself on the back, but I've got to really pay attention to what I'm doing, or the car would be doing ground loops on me. It accelerates extremely well. It doesn't go through the corners like I'd like it to, or like some of the more specific sports cars do. But we're going to work on it a little bit more and see if we can make it work better.
John Weinberger has just taken the checkered flag in the group race with his Lotus, and he did an excellent job. And John, would you tell us about the race and a little bit about your car?
Well, maybe I'd talk a little bit about the car first. The car, I've had it for about 6 years, and it's been a very forgiving car, and each year we develop it a little bit, maybe get another half a second out of it, half a second, learn how to drive it a little bit more, and it's been just such a great car. It hardly ever breaks down. You know, I think we blew an engine last year, first time out, first practice, and that was the only problem we had all year with it. This year it's been running just great, and as far as the race is concerned, we didn't have very many competitors here this week. It's more fun when you have more competitors. So what I try to do is just take it easy in the race until the last 2 or 3 laps, and then heat it up a little bit, because I know the next race is going to be a real race, because we're going to be in with all the big hogs, and so I try to get my lap times down a little bit and my braking points.
Now this is a Lotus 26R?
It's a Lotus 23C, and it was built in 1965. They made these cars from 62 to 65, and it's a rear engine car, and it has a twin cam Ford engine in it in the back, and it's 4-cylinder. This one develops about 200 horsepower, and they were designed originally to run many motors, anything from 1,100 cubic centimeters to 15, 18 to 2 liter. So it ran in many classes back in those days. This car here was a 1966 and 67 national champion in this class. And I kind of searched for it and found it and bought it, and I found it had the original bill of ladings with it and all of the papers and everything it had from new.
That's great. Now, you are racing vintage circuit. What other tracks do you run at?
Well, we go to Mid-Ohio, and we go to a little track called Groton, Michigan, and that's a very friendly track. And Joel and I go there, and we go together all the time. I've gone to Sebring, and we've gone to Gateway, but we don't really get totally involved where we're doing all over the country. It's just a hobby for us.
Kip Sheward has a great collection of historic racing cars, including a Ford GT40 and a special Jaguar 220. Would you tell us about these cars, Kip?
Sure. The car we're looking at right here, car number 92, was originally campaigned by Wilson Fittipaldi, Emerson's brother. The car campaigned primarily most of its season, most of its life in Brazil. That's why it carries some Brazilian color still on it. Its chassis number 1083 was the last JW lightweight roof car produced. It's got a pretty significant racing history. Jim George, the owner of the car now, has been campaigning the car for about 2 seasons, and he's doing real well with the car. The car's been a real good piece for us. Real interesting car. Got a neat history to it. The yellow car we're looking at here, car number 25, is owned by Mr. Thomas Cellini. This car was originally the Shell oil car, the car that Shell used for their advertising campaign. It didn't see a whole lot of racing in its life. It was mostly a promotional car. Then later the car was sold to a private individual, which then started its racing career. A fairly rare car. Original race spec car, which was brought over as a race spec car. Car originally was blue, then went to green, and now back to a yellow car. Once again, a significant car as far as GT40s go. This car is a Jaguar XJR 15, a very minimal amount produced. This car was a purpose-built car by Jaguar for the Jaguar Supercar series. The series was run in Europe, mostly with Formula One drivers and Group C drivers. They basically were a support class for the Formula One series. It's a carbon fiber chassis car with a Jaguar 12-cylinder in it. This particular model is the very first car produced. This is chassis 001. Once again, a purpose-built car, not like the 220, which was a street-built car turned race car. This is a true factory-built race car from Jaguar.
Kip, what kind of speeds can the Jaguar see?
You can see 180 miles an hour out of this car. No problem at all.
What's the approximate horsepower?
About 450 to 500 horsepower, depending on how it's trimmed.
Bob Woodward races Formula Juniors, and he is participating in a series called the Ryan Transportation Series Monoposto Register. Bob, I'd like you to tell our audience about the Monoposto Register, what it is, what cars are in it, and the series itself.
Yes, the Monoposto Register was started about 7 years ago, and there were 5 or 6 of us, mostly Chicago-based people, and myself. I'm from Dubuque. Got together because there were very few open-wheel cars that were showing up in vintage racing. And we felt we had to do something to create a vehicle to attract more open-wheel cars. So we formed the Monoposto Register. Originally, it consisted exclusively of Formula Junior type of cars. But over the last 6 years, it has developed into a sponsored race series of 5 different classes. Everything from Formula 2 and Formula B cars in the fastest category to Formula V, Volkswagen-powered cars, and front-engine juniors in the slowest of the 5 classes. Ryan is a trucking company based in Canada and Detroit, and they became our sponsor last year, and they're our sponsor this year, and they will be again next year. And so we've named the series after this company since they're our primary sponsor. We have gone from as few as half dozen open-wheel cars 7 years ago to grids of this year of as many as 60 open-wheel cars. And in certain venues this year we've actually divided the single-seater open-wheel groups of cars into 2 races because we had too many of these types of cars for a single race. That is a pretty good indication of the success the Monoposto Register has experienced in the last several years. Some people are curious about the name Monoposto. Monoposto is Italian, and mono is single in Italian. Posto is posterior, or at the bottom. So Monoposto is single-seater, or in our case, they're open-wheel cars with 1 seat, no fenders and no doors. But Monoposto is single-seater in Italian.